Ladies and gentlemen, the long anticipated question has been answered. Whether or not James Cook is planning on attending Buffalo Bills mandatory minicamp. And as of a couple of hours ago, we learned that not only is James Cook in Buffalo currently, he is also planning on attending mandatory minicamp. Now, this news was broken, as I said, just a couple of hours ago. And I don't feel like we have the full answer of whether or not this means that he is going to be a full participant or whether or not that he plans on pulling a Shamar Stewart or he plans on pulling a hold in where he is reporting to camp to avoid fines, because do remember, he would have been fined up to $50,000 per day, if I remember correctly, if he was not in attendance. So we are still going to see whether or not that he suits up and he actually participates in various running back drills and other team activities. However, this is a good sign, folks. This is a good sign because all offseason, this has been a nightmare. I thought that we avoided this once Stephon Diggs was off of this roster, but then this James Cook situation reared its ugly head. A bit of PTSD for Bills fans, as I'm sure a lot of you can remember. But this is a hell of a sign. Again, we're going to have to wait to see whether or not that he actually does play and participate in all of these practice drills, but you love to see it. And wow, what a roller coaster this James Cook situation has been so far this offseason. Starting off with an Instagram story where he pinned a comment saying $15 million per year, where he all but sold his house in Buffalo, where we have had beat reporter after beat reporter, national sports personality coverage that Buffalo needs to sign James Cook, or otherwise they are going to have a whirlwind of problems in 2025. Questions of whether or not he plans on sitting out for the entire season, looking for said contract extension. This is a good sign. And I got to say, I was shocked because me attempting to look into the future based off of previous running back holdouts, I thought that he for sure was not going to show up to mandatory minicamp in attempts to make a statement. I was still pretty convinced that he was going to play, that he ultimately would have ended up showing up to training camp if there was no conversation or if there was no movement in his wanted contract. But here you go, folks. Here you go. I think now with this appearance at mandatory minicamp, I feel like this starts to raise some questions. What does this mean? Does this mean that he has all but just said, hey, you know what? I get it. I'm going to be a team player. Yeah, I'm not going to get my contract, but let's get a damn ring. This is going to give me an opportunity to prove myself to either the Buffalo Bills for the following offseason or perhaps a team next year when I become an unrestricted free agent. Or does it have something to do with Brandon Beane and this front office have given recent assurances that they are currently at the table and they are looking to give James Cook a bit of a contract? We don't know, but I'll tell you what, good sign. I think that this alleviates quite a bit of stress among Bills Mafia, and mandatory minicamp, baby. It is starting today. And man, I love this time of the year. I really do, because it's really our first taste of what this team is looking like. Yes, we have OTAs, but again, it's the glorified shorts and T-shirts Olympics. And while we're not going to be getting a good sense of how this team is operating, since there's not going to be a lot of pad work going here, it is the first time where everybody is indeed involved. And with James Cook showing up, I want to say that this means we are at 100% attendance, which is ideal. And then afterwards, obviously, we go through this very long, strenuous, annoying break until training camp begins. But the biggest storyline surrounding this Buffalo Bills organization, we have an answer before it even starts. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited to unpack this with you today. If you are new here, my name is Dan Mitchell. All right. I am the largest Buffalo Bills creator on the internet with all platforms combined. I love talking about the NFL, and I'm live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. EST, bringing you all of the Buffalo Bills news surrounding your best efforts. Now, do me a favor, guys. Smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't had an opportunity of doing so already. And turn on bell notifications, because as you know, I discuss the topic at hand for the first couple of minutes of each episode, and then I structure my streams where I include my live chat audience in a Q&A segment for the remainder. Now, if you want to be a part of my live chat audience and or the Q&A segment, please label each and every single submission accordingly with a Q for question or an S for statement. So that way I can easily decipher between the two. And I could all but ignore the internal arguments or internal conversations some of my live chatters have on a regular basis. No offense to you guys. I just want to make sure that I provide a wonderful listening and rewatching experience for people that may not have an opportunity of joining these shows live. So start filing in your questions, folks. Let's get it in and let's have a fun little conversation, man. I am so pumped. I imagine I am going to be live quite a bit today because I'm going to have to unpack everything we learned from mandatory minicamp. I am going to have to unpack all of the breaking news that comes out of every single NFL organization all day. So rest be assured, you will be seeing quite a bit of myself. All right. Right before we dive into the Q&A segment, I need to give a giant shout out to our good friends, William Matar. Folks, if you were ever hurt in a car, man, you better call William Matar, #1 car accident attorney in the state of New York. Listen, if you ever find yourself in a fender bender or a little rear ending, if you will, and you come out hurting, all right, you need to make sure you have the right representation and look no further than the man you are staring at right now. William Matar, phone number is on the screen. Make sure you're protected by making sure you have the appropriate representation. Best in the game. Shout out to William Matar for showing some love and being a proud sponsor of this channel moving forward, man. Shout out to everybody in here. Love each and every single one of you. Let's lock in with some questions. Guys, again, please follow suit with my boy Jonah here. If, for example, you have a question, please label it appropriately with a Q, or you have a statement that I would like to react to, please label them. Those are the only comments that I typically end up showing on screen. Again, we're trying to make sure we have a wonderful experience for anybody listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and also people that are watching the replay of said episode. Jonah Williams, let's go, baby. Cook is reporting. So what drama do we have going into minicamp? None that I can think of. I was not looking forward to have that be the storyline on Hard Knocks. Well, Jonah, I'm going to tell you what, it's certainly encouraging, right? I'm glad that he reported, but I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I do not believe that we are out of the woods yet, right? Just because he is showing up does not necessarily mean that he is going to participate. There could be a new way of going about it, which is something several players take advantage of, where they hold in, right? Where they just sit off to the sideline and they watch everybody participate. That way he avoids fines. That way he could say, oh, I have a phantom hamstring tightness. I am unable to participate because I am afraid that I will get injured. Something that really cannot be confirmed, of course, by medical staff, and a very intriguing way of getting out of being fined. So we're going to have to see what this all looks like. We're going to have to see whether or not he participates, but let's see. Have a new post from Adam Schefter 12 minutes ago. Let's go ahead and check this out real fast. I'm actually curious to see what we got. All right. James Cook, who has been seeking a new contract this offseason, is in attendance for today's mandatory minicamp. We already have that news. We heard about it about 2 or 3 hours ago, I will say. And we're just going to have to see if he participates, man. That's for sure. Joe Buscaglia also ended up adding some 2 cents. Let's see. Bills downplayed Cook's absence from OTAs and have said they've stayed in contact with him during the offseason. Not a huge surprise that he's in attendance and he's highly regarded around the building. The bigger question is how much on-field work does he do today? Listen, I feel like that we cannot be picky here because he could have been the guy that just didn't show up. Been a crazy storyline, as Jonah pointed out, with that beautiful question he provided earlier, that could have dominated Hard Knocks. And we don't want that bad juju. I'm glad that he's here, but I think now the question becomes, will he participate? I think that's the question. I think that is the question. Joey Gonzalez. So does Schefter see this as at Cool reported and ask himself, my source sucks? So does Schefter see this as Cool reported and ask himself, my source sucks? Perhaps. right? And listen, I have to empathize for Schefter. I really, really do. I feel like anybody that's in the sports media game has said something that turns out to be completely wrong, including myself. Now, mostly from my experience in this field, I have learned that sources are typically they're agents. That's what a source typically is an agent. So whether or not the James Cook's agent just wanted to throw a smoke screen, perhaps he told Schefter something, or maybe there was a change of heart at the last minute, I don't know. But hey, listen, thank God he's wrong. Thank God he is wrong. I can say that. Pepe, what's going on, man? Hey, dude, listen, we got our Chiefs fan in here rocking with us. If the Bills win the Super Bowl, it's because they changed underscore, underscore, underscore what? That's a great question, man. Now, this is a heavily debated topic, but I think what has plagued the Bills, specifically in the playoffs of the past couple of years, lack of depth, quality depth. And I'm not saying that I want the second or third string players to be all pros or pro bowlers, but I would like to close the gap. I think my favorite analogy when trying to convey my theory is look at Madden rankings, right? Starting cornerback is a 91 overall on Madden, right? But the second string cornerback is like a 56. That's a significant drop off, right? What I want to see is the difference between Madden ratings, and this is just an analogy, folks. I would like to see my starter be a 91 and my second string be a 72, right? Or a 75, for example. Close the gap in overall talent differential between first and second string in specific position groups. And I think most importantly, I want to see that in our secondary because that was a large reason. And I think this year, I think we may have done that. But only time will tell. DTN, I love to hear. Oh, we have a Patriots fan in here, folks. Shout out to DTN. And so I love to hear that James Cook is reporting the minicamp. As long as he attends to all the practices, regardless of circumstances, he would get his contract, but I'm not a coach and or a gym. So I got to tell you what, again, we're not out of the woods, but this is a much better situation than what I was initially anticipating. I thought that this holdout was going to last midway through training camp, but he showed up. Again, I think it's still left up to be debated of how much he's going to participate. Is he going to pull a Shamar Stewart where he's showing up, but he's just sitting on the sideline, no pads, not participating at all? Is he just showing up to avoid fines? I don't know. I suppose the pessimist inside of me is assuming that he's not going to be participating much. However, say that he does, that's cool because now we can avoid any sort of bad juju that we could potentially see. Midnight has come in saying, question, so if Cook is a full participant in training camp, is that the best thing for the team? And if Allen and Cook are consistent with the ball, do you think we will win the Super Bowl? I don't think that offensive issues was the reason why we lost to the Kansas City Chiefs last year. I think a lot of it had to do with lack of depth, right? Because us going into any season saying, oh man, like all of our starters, all of our first stringers are going to be healthy for the entirety of the season. That's just, it's naive. It's not going to happen. I think that if number one, we can get some essence of pass rush, a better pass rush, please, Bosa, stay healthy for important games for us, right? Greg Rousseau, please earn your contract. Ed Oliver, go off, my guy. And then also some quality depth within the secondary, specifically in the cornerback department, we're going to be fine. If, for example, that we could have a fully healthy secondary going into the playoffs, all throughout the playoffs, I think that was largely the issue. Brandon Day. So do you think Bean told him to show up so they can get something worked out? Yesterday, they were reporting he wasn't going to show. What changed? Go Bills. So I think there's two possibilities here. Number one, so there was a change of heart where James Cook was just like, I'm going to show up so I can avoid the fines, and eventually I'll swallow my pride and I will earn the $5 million that I achieved by hitting my rookie contract escalators. He's like, worst case scenario, I'll go out and I'll have an opportunity of getting a ring. And then I could have another quality season. And next offseason, I'll be able to get a deal that's closer to $18 million a year or $20 million a year. Whether or not Buffalo pays it or some other team does, maybe he's realizing that this is actually an even better opportunity for him to establish some sort of longevity within the league. Secondly, there is a very strong possibility, and I would even argue that I think this is more than likely. Because why the sudden change? Why was it yesterday he's not going to show up at all, but then today he's here? Maybe there's some sort of assurance. Maybe there's something we're not talking about. Maybe Brandon B and this front office are very quietly working on a deal behind closed doors. Perhaps. I don't know. We're just going to have to see, folks. We don't have the answers. All we have is speculation. Let's lock it in. Let's lock it in, guys. Continue on with the questions and the statements. Let's lock this in. Robert Scholerman is saying, statement, I think the Cook situation is overblown in the media. If he wants to get paid, he will show up. That is a fact. And again, right, like he's earning $5 million this year. And that's almost unheard of. He is earning $5 million this year due to the escalators that he hit within his contract. He's a second-round player, right? Like, he probably hit the utmost potential of his potential earnings for the final year of his rookie deal, right? So he's going to get paid double the amount of money he has made collectively throughout his career in the NFL, just based off of his performance for the past couple of years. So I don't think that he wants to put himself in a position where he wants to get fined $50,000 per. I think that's dumb. And like I said, I think that he's a smart young man, and I think he realized that. But we shall see. Scoop Prods, what's up, Scoop? Hope all is well. What would you say is our weakest position group is going into the season right now? Scoop Prods, what would you say our weakest position group is going into this season right now? That's a great question, man. I can tell you that I think this season might be one of the few where I have many position groups where I still would like a bit more, right? I suppose you could put linebacker as far as linebacker depth, especially with the question marks of can Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard, who are regularly on the injury reports any given season, can they stay healthy, right? Because I'm not particularly a fan of the depth at the linebacker position. However, it's good that Buffalo typically only runs two linebackers for the vast majority rate of their defense formations, right? And we run a lot of nickel. So us having three linebackers out there is a rarity. So I suppose I could go linebacker, but based off of defensive scheme, I feel like we're okay. And let's knock on wood, and let's hope that both Milano and Bernard can stay healthy all season. And say, for example, that one of them is out, I'm okay with Dorian Williams stepping in if necessary, right? I think linebacker is probably the one that scares me the most, followed by safety. But in all of the important positions, in all of the important position groups, I feel very good, right? I feel wonderful about our defensive line. Same thing with the offensive line. I feel wonderful there. I now feel wonderful with our cornerback room. I feel good with our wide receivers. I feel great with our running backs. So I'd probably say linebacker and safety would probably be the two position groups that worry me, but not particularly because of the starters, but because of the lack of depth. That's kind of where I'm at. And chat, sound off and let me know. Question, did Daquan Jones take a pay cut? Also, how do you feel about Hardy? Is he getting any reps? Senke, what's going on? I don't recall Daquan Jones taking a pay cut. I know that he's on his final year of his deal, and Matt Milano took a pay cut. He actually had an entire year cut off of his contract, so this is his final year. And then Hardy, is he getting any reps? We're going to be able to figure out snap count and reps by the end of today's practice, man. So this is crazy. Let me see. Let's go. Carly is coming in. Yeah, he probably wants that money. I mean, wouldn't you assume so? Mischief is coming with a statement. I think it's highly likely that Bean is being quiet about getting it done. He said in a press conference that he likes to handle that stuff behind the scenes. Yeah, dude, listen. It's likely what happened. And again, this is exclusively speculation. Like, this is just speculation at this point, but I think there's a reason. I think that there's a reason why yesterday we heard that he was not going to show up. Then all of a sudden he's in Buffalo and he plans on showing up. Will he participate? I think that's a different question. I think that's a different one, man. I'm not going to lie to you. Maybe he did hear some news that Bean is working on something, but we're going to have to see. And then Brandon says linebacker. Yeah. So I feel like we're all on the same page here when it comes into linebacker. Thank God we run nickel, right? And we only ever need 2 linebackers out there at any given point. Let's just pray, right, that both of them can stay healthy. And even if Matt Milano misses a couple of games or Bernard misses a couple of games, I do trust Dorian Williams to fill in, right? But after that, yeah, I'm a bit concerned. But let's just hope we stay healthy in all the right places. Chris J. Perk, what have you been hearing about Max Harrison is doing so far in OTAs? Chris J. Perk, what's going on, man? Hope all is well. Hope all is well, my friend. From what I understand, he had some quality reps against Keon Coleman, and Keon Coleman did ultimately end up beating him. I heard toward the end of OTAs, Max Harrison started feeling more confident in implementing his speed. At first, he got into OTAs. He was trying to learn the system. He was trying to get comfortable. Didn't really put his speed out there. But then ultimately, he ended up doing his thing. So that is ideal. We have another tweet that just ended up coming out. Let's go ahead and read this one from Lance Lasowski. Has come in. James Cook is in attendance for the Bills' mandatory minicamp. A league source confirms in the news. Sean McDermott will speak to the media right before practice at around 10:45 a.m. Here's what Cook's presence means and why it matters. Folks, I'm going to have to tell you what, I think more than likely, we're going to have to go live once again when Sean McDermott ends up speaking with the media and unpacking everything that we learned from practice. So it is imperative, ladies and gentlemen, if, for example, you were new here, to not only subscribe, but turn on bell notifications, because I don't want you to miss an opportunity of being a part of my live Q&A segments, right? Again, I really love engaging with my live chat audience. I consider you guys my friends, my boys that I love talking ball with. And that's what YouTube's all about, right? Including my audience, because without you guys, I would not have this platform at all. So I love making all of you a part of the conversation. So please, if, for example, you want to be a part of this, do not be shy. Just go ahead and fire in your question and or your statement, and I will do my best to get to every single one of them. Big Daddy D, and do you think Cook is showing up to lean towards a trade? Big Daddy D, I think that might be a pretty less than likely in scenario. So he has shown up for one of 2 reasons. Number one, he swallowed his pride. He says, I'm not trying to get fined. I'm just going to play. I'm just going to earn my $5 million. I'm going to go out there and rush for 1,200 to 1,300 yards. And then next year, I'll be worth $18 million a year. Or next year, I'll be worth $20 million a year, whether or not it's Buffalo paying me or some other team that pays me. And or we heard from Brandon Bean, or Bean told his camp, his agent, that he's like, hey, man, low key, I'm actually working on a deal right now, so show up. I think those are the 2 most likely reasons. Now, which one is it? We're going to have to see. But time will tell. Time will tell. Spidey Munn has come in. Question: God forbid Bosa gets injured during the season, but do you think that they would try to pick up another player midseason to take his place? So it's kind of interesting to see who would be available, like what edge rushers would be available for a trade. It's funny because you see Trey Hendrickson and TJ Watt currently are holding out from their own respective teams' mandatory minicamps today due to contract situations. It's hard for me to think of a player that would be on one of the final years of their contract, right on a team that is shitty enough that would want to send somebody off. I suppose for cap implications, or even a free agent that we could bring in. I think this team has a lot of faith in not only Landon Jackson, but also AJ Epinesa, perhaps. Same thing with Gregory Rousseau, and even Javon Solomon, who was drafted last year in the 5th round. I don't think that we would go out and be in the market for an edge rusher, barring some sort of crazy ass injury bug that I think a lot of us wouldn't be able and to get over with it. Brandon Day, was the linebacker the Bengals just released any good? Could he be a sneaky pickup for us? Jermaine. Okay, we're talking about Jermaine out of Cincinnati. He's definitely getting up there in age. So I wouldn't see a world where the Buffalo Bills would go out and spend that type of like high dollar. So you look at with each and every single NFL roster, there's always going to be a question mark of depth in one particular, excuse me. And there is always going to be a question mark in depth in one specific position group, right? I don't care what team you're talking about. I don't care if you're a Super Bowl contender or if you're the worst team in the league. Because this league is a salary cap institution, there is always going to be pick your poison. Like, what group am I feeling most comfortable with that I can ride out with some average players, especially in the second and third level? So I think Buffalo is just going to roll the dice on the linebacker situation, right? Like, maybe we bring in a couple of camp bodies here and there, but as far as like players that for sure would make the 53-man roster, I don't see Buffalo going out there and spending any sort of crazy money on some veteran that would automatically be third on the depth chart or fourth on the depth chart, perhaps. Us bringing in any sort of linebacker or edge rusher, we would need to see like some sort of absolute injury curse in order for us to make that a fruition. We're going to have to see. All right, so we have no Jonnu Smith or Jalen Ramsey at Dolphins minicamp, in case anybody's curious about some of our rivals. We're going to see. Austin, my boy, has come on in. Missed you, brother. Hope all is well. What's up, my dude? I miss Bills football so much. You and me both, my friend. You and me both. Very excited for Landon Jackson's contribution. You and me both, Andre. You have no idea. Andrew Anderson, rank the wide receivers and tight ends in terms of who you think will get the highest target share from Allen. Okay, Andrew, that's a great question, and that's going to be heavily debated, largely because I think that we're going to mimic the exact same trend of number 1, 2, and 3 in target distribution are going to be separated by 15 to 20 passes, right? I really think that they're honing in on the everybody eats mentality. However, if I were a gambling man, and this is me just assuming, number 1 in targets is going to be Khalil Shakir. I think that we can get that. Number 2 is going to be Dalton Kincaid. Yes, you heard it here right. I'm still believing that Dalton Kincaid is meant to be a big piece to this offense. I do think last year, a big reason why his production was not there was number 1, him and Josh Allen had a hard time establishing some sort of chemistry, and he was playing through a knee injury toward the back half of the season. I think Dalton Kincaid's about to get some pretty crazy targets, so give me number 2 for Dalton Kincaid. And then number 3 for me, I'm going to have to go Keon Coleman, surprisingly enough. I know Josh Palmer might be like mixed into the conversation. Same thing with Elijah Moore. But I think Josh Palmer is going to take over the responsibilities that Amari Cooper had for the very marginal amount of time that he was on this roster. And Elijah Moore is going to be a situational go ball type wide receiver. I think that's going to be the case. I can say that I do not see anybody cracking 1,000 yards. If somebody does crack 1,000 yards, it's going to be like 1,036, 1,045. Second most like receiving yards would be probably at around like 900 something, followed by like 750. And then a bunch of guys that get about 500 to 600 yards accumulated based off of it. It's so hard to predict, but one thing I could probably rest my hat on, barring any sort of injury, I know that Shakir is probably going to be number 1. Question, I say this every year, but do you think this is our year to win it all and be able to hang the banner in the new stadium? Would that be an awesome opener? Dude, I mean, it would, right? as far as a storybook, like Hollywood wouldn't be able to write a better storyline. Like watching Buffalo finally win it in the final year of their stadium with all the pain and nostalgia that is associated with said organization. And could it be the year? I mean, look, when you have a quarterback like Josh Allen, when you have an elite quarterback on your team, every year there is an opportunity for it to be your year, right? But there's so many different moving pieces within every specific NFL organization. And it's largely due and it's related to the fact of how much I hate when people can come in here and try and tell me that wins are a quarterback stat. Wins are not a quarterback stat, folks. Wins are not a quarterback stat. There are so many moving pieces. I do not care how elite you are. A perfect example is Joe Burrow, right? Look how great he played last year. His team went 9-8 and they missed the playoffs. A lot of it has to do with a small margin of luck. What team can stay healthy in all the right places when it matters most going into the system? What team is not going to have coaching gaffes, right? So many different factors go into a team being able to make the full run, right? So, yes, on paper, for sure. And so I do think that Buffalo has a chance to win the Super Bowl. Then again, I thought the same thing for the past couple of years. But unfortunately, again, like we just weren't lucky in being healthy in all of the right places. Like, we ended up losing out on Christian Benford last year. And with the Kansas City Chiefs tore us up, and they punished us for that once he ended up leaving. And the year before that, we missed out on Christian Benford, Bernard. I'm pretty sure Rasul Douglas was playing on one knee 2 years ago, right? Hopefully now we have enough depth, and hopefully now that we've ended up making a change in our strength and conditioning coach, maybe we won't see as many injuries. I don't know, man. We're going to have to see. We are going to have to see. Robert has come in saying, Dan is the man. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. John Robert, I read we were only 2 million. They will need to restructure to sign the rest of their rookies. Yeah, most definitely. I think that we have already signed some of the rookies. I think only a couple are still awaiting their said contracts. And I think that you could get away with particular signing bonuses. So whether or not that is a James Cook extension, folks, and to be completely honest with you, a James Cook extension right now, he's due $5 million for salary cap this year. Low key, it makes sense. And to extend him right now, right? Imagine, like, we could very well add an additional $4 million to cap space this year by a James Cook extension. He's due $5 million, and he has $5 million going against the cap. If, for example, we gave him something and transitioned his first year into about like 1.2, 1.3 million base, and we gave him his crazy signing bonus of 20 million spread across 3 to 4 years, that's a contract that can make some more money for us. We could also shock the world and extend Connor McGovern as well. He also could be a player that we could extend / restructure, right? And create more money. So there are some things we can do. William, and do you think they go to trade Cook to the Cowboys to maybe save some money? No, I don't think that trading James Cook is on the table. I am still pretty much convinced that he will be on the Buffalo Bills. Next year, though, will he hit free agency and go to a different team? And do I think the Bills will go out and try and sign him? No, but we'll see. No bones about it. People quickly forgot that Kincaid was borderline elite his rookie season, getting franchise records. Sophomore slump is in the books. He will have a breakout year. I'm still optimistic with Dalton Kincaid. I am. And I think that he will finish second in targets and have a bounce back year. Scoop Prods, what exactly will we learn from minicamp today? It's tough to really draw conclusions. It's very tough to draw conclusions. I think the biggest thing we will learn is what our skill position players look like, right? Like wide receivers and DB matchups, 7-on-7s will be, right in my opinion, the most conclusive. But really anything in the trenches, like offensive line, defensive line, I'd say even the running game, we're not going to know anything, right? So the most we'll probably learn is just based off of our skill position players, our wide receivers, our corners. that's probably going to be like one of the few position groups where we will have conclusive evidence and or conclusive feedback based off of what we have seen. But so with anything that comes from the trenches, yeah, likely not. We have Brendan Day. We were ranked 26 in pass attempts last year. And do we duplicate that, or do you see us being more pass happy since we have better weapons? Maybe a slight increase, right? Especially since we added a player that could finally be a vertical speed threat right within Elijah Moore. But in my opinion, Brandon, I think that Joe Brady is very much of the strategy of don't fix what's not broken. Yes, I could see us going up a tad, but say that we go up to like top 10, likely not. Like maybe we go up to 18th or like 16th, for example. But I feel like what worked for Buffalo last year was having such a well-balanced attack. So I don't see us really like making any drastic changes to that. Did something happen with Palmer recently, an injury or something? He tweaked something. And according to Thigh Doc, it's something that he regularly goes through. It's something he regularly goes through at training camp. He's had a couple of years ago. It's nothing serious, but it sounds like that he's just going to be chilling until training camp. We have Teddy with a C. C. All right. I can't wait for week 3. I had to make sure I got to go to the only roundtable event at the old stadium. Teddy Bandana. Dude, I am so excited that you are coming, my friend. I'm so excited that you are coming. Who are you bringing with you, or are you going solo? Doesn't matter if you're going solo because we're going to be having a hell of a damn time together. I can promise you that, man. Shout out to everybody that bought tickets to the Roundtable Sports event in Buffalo. We are very excited. We are going to be sitting at the Caesar Sportsbook Lounge in the stadium, high class, and then an exclusive event the night before. Man, this is looking good. Dan, you talking or taking? Damn. With your audience is what makes your channel so great, in my opinion. Not sure why more content creators don't do this. Go Bills. Brandon Day, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. So I'll tell you what, it just kind of always frustrated me when I used to watch YouTubers and streamers just like talk like for an hour and a half and just ignore their live audience. It really annoys me, right? I was just like, okay, so like these people dedicate their time to listen to you and you just ignore them. Like that's kind of shitty in my opinion. So I wanted to be different. I wanted something to sort of stand out. And plus, like I'm a part of shows that it's just me talking to somebody else or like me like having that sort of conversation. But say, for example, that there's a solo streamer and they just don't talk to you, then yeah, I'm good. I'm good, man. Anyway, MT Dueling. Are there still tickets for the roundtable? MT Dueling, man, from what I understand, we're sold out. I do know that there were a couple of people that put down deposits that still have not paid for the full amount. So I want to say that they have another week. And then say, for example, that they do not pay the remainder, then I think that we are going to refund them and then we're going to put those tickets up for sale again. But have no fear. We are partnering with the tailgate company in Buffalo, and we are going to be meeting up with people at that tailgate as well. So that information will be coming out soon. Just want to go on ahead and let you guys be aware of that. But as far as game tickets presently, we are entirely sold out. Going solo, but might bring some of my boys to the tailgate. Teddy, man, listen, dude, I'm excited to meet all of you. I really, really am. I'm really excited to meet all of you. Brantley Bird, sup, Dan? I've been weightlifting for about a month, and I play football, and I play left tackle. I'm happy about the news with James Cook. Brantley, my guy, dude. Just make sure you're doing it with proper form. Trust me on that. You definitely don't want to injure yourself and hurt yourself right before the season begins, but I appreciate that, Brantley. Starting off strong, getting good. Strength is good, man. Listen, I believe weightlifting is the best way to see a massive increase in confidence. It's healthy. It's a good lifestyle. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. You're going to have to let me know how your season goes around left tackle, man. I absolutely love it. Brandon Day. Dan, Josh Allen has a big impact and his opinions matter. What do you think his position is with Jimbo? I mean, he is the second best weapon to help Allen out on the offense. It's kind of tough, right? It's kind of tough to say. I wish that I knew the answer. So I know that Josh Allen just ended up getting his bag, which I think is ideal. But then again, you also need to look at Josh Allen from his maturity level for how long he's been in the business, right? He has already seen a brand new team. Like not a single player is still on this roster that was when he was a rookie. Maybe with the exception of Dion Dawkins. Folks, let me know if there's any other player on this roster that was also on the roster with Josh Allen his rookie season. I think Dion Dawkins is the only player that was. So I think that tells him that it is a business. I think that he empathizes with that. So I don't particularly think that he's out there advocating for, oh my God, you better pay him, and so I'm going to cause a ruckus, right? I do think that he does have some sort of empathy with it, but we'll see. Statement. The Dolphins are going to be the most disappointing team in the 2025-2026 season and won't make the playoffs. I wish that was a hot take, but it's not. Robert, why do you think the Bills were 29th in third down defense last season? Was lack of pass rush, man. Say, for example, that you give a quarterback all the time in the world to go out and find an open man, right? Or say, for example, that so you have like a quality running like quarterback and that could go on ahead and just like find open space and convert. It's that. It's all about pass rush. That was the biggest issue with us last year, Robert, was the inability of stopping third downs, right? What saved us was the fact that we were actually very good at taking the football away. Like, that's what saved us. If we weren't top 5 in turnover differential last year, we would have been screwed. Like, we would have had a very difficult season. We probably would have had a season similar to the Cincinnati Bengals. But thankfully, we were able to take the football away. That's what saved us. But that's not sustainable, right? Like, us relying on the fact and hoping that we could just continuously take the football away is not something that I would like to rest on. So I really hope that we could see some sort of improvement in stopping third down conversions. I'm not even saying that I want us to be top 10, right? But get us in the middle of the pack, for the love of God, right? Like, give me some sort of improvement. I feel like that's kind of where we're at. We had Angela come in with a question. What's up, Angela? Hope all is well. Donald Dunstan has come in and has said, I just want to see what our defensive line and linebackers are going to do. Since our backfield is rather young and unproven, if our D-line and linebackers ball out, our backfield's job should be cake. Right? Certainly interesting. Certainly interesting. It's helpful that McDermott likes linebackers that excel in coverage, right? Like, we really don't have a traditional linebacker on this roster. Maybe Dorian Williams, right? Like, maybe Dorian Williams. And Matt Milano has his chops when it comes into rushing the passer too when healthy. I'll give him that. But Bernard and Milano are known for their coverage capabilities. Very good in coverage. Quality tacklers, right? Having a good linebacker core is a solid insurance policy for your outside corners, right? Solid insurance policy for edge rushers that maybe struggle setting the edge, that struggle in run defense. Although that I'm very encouraged by Landon Jackson's ability to stop the run. I'm very encouraged with Bosa's ability to stop the run. Same thing with Gregory Rousseau. I think that our run defense, particularly when they attack the outside, is going to significantly improve this year. I think we're still going to have some question marks about when they run it up the gut, specifically when it's going to be Ed Oliver's responsibility, Daquan Jones, maybe even Deion Walker's. But yes, I do agree that having a good linebacker is going to do wonders for Max Harrison, do wonders for Dane Jackson or Trey White if, for example, they're filling in for an injured corner on the outside. The exact same way where Max Harrison is an incredible insurance policy for both of our safeties, who are not really coverage safeties, right? Like, they're more like downhill tackling type safeties, hard-hitting safeties. So it's really the perfect storm when you look at how this roster is built. I'm particularly excited about it. Let's see, folks. Is Sean McDermott speaking right now? Let me see. Sean McDermott does so 11:45 or 10:45? Chat, let me know. Let me see. Say that it's 10:45, chat. We're just gonna I don't know. I don't know, man. Let's keep this conversation going. 454 of you rocking with me right now, folks. 223 of you on YouTube, 218 of you on X. Man, look at that, man. Who were to know that everybody is in and fascinated with this James Cook topic? Dan, what do we do about our guard need at the end of the season? Drew Lar. Man, you know what? It's interesting, right? Because are we planning on re-signing David Edwards? Are we planning on targeting one in the draft in the first or the second round? My best guess would be that in next year's drafts, we are going to be targeting an interior offensive lineman relatively early. I think that's my best guess because I look at some of the other position groups of need in 2026 as far as where I could see things getting pretty slim. I think interior offensive lineman probably going to be a top priority. I think linebacker is going to be a top priority as well. Safety, perhaps, especially since we only have two that are under contract next year because DeMar, Forrest are both on one-year deals. So more than likely, I think that we'll be targeting an interior offensive lineman early in the draft next year. That's probably my best guess. William, how many players do we have to restructure / extend? So luckily, we got the vast majority of them done last year, right? Or excuse me, with this offseason. Next year, we have a couple of players that are pending free agents. McGovern is obviously going to be up for a potential contract extension. I'm trying to think who else could potentially be up for a contract extension that's absolutely necessary. McGovern is probably going to be up for one as well. Who else? Well, and so obviously James Cook, say for example, that we don't like have a contract for him this season, although that I think that we're going to be moving on. Wide receivers, I feel like we're good because we'd have Keon Coleman going into his third year. We already extended Khalil Shakir. Maybe a couple of guys we signed to like a 1-year contract this year that end up balling and earning. So with their opportunity, I think Ed Oliver is also going to be up if that's something that we want to sort of entertain. So not nearly as many as this past year, but a couple of key pieces for sure. A couple of key pieces. Urban Outdoors has come in with a question. With our new receivers, what do you think Josh Allen's passing and rushing numbers will be this year? So I think it's going to be relatively similar to last year, right? Maybe 43, 4,400, 4,500 perhaps. Like now that we have Elijah Moore, that's going to be a quality weapon that his average yards per reception or his depth of target will probably be a hell of a lot deeper because we were constrained to personnel last year as far as yards. But I do think that we still are going to run a pretty well-balanced offensive attack where a lot of it's going to be the James Cook, Ray Davis show, maybe Ty Johnson show, a lot of short passes with yards after the catch implemented. That's just a Joe Brady offense, right? It's a death by 1,000 paper cuts typically, right? Now, I do think that Josh Allen is going to slowly but surely regress as far as his ability to make impact plays on the ground. And that's not a shot at him, but he is 29 years old. He's about to be 30, right? So one could only assume that eventually he will start to draw back and transition into a pure pocket passer. I'm not saying it's going to be this year. I think it's a hell of a lot more likely to be when he's 33, 34 years old. But I do think that we will see dwindling numbers in rush attempts and also rushing yards for the next couple of years until it virtually just goes to zero and he becomes that guy. That is the plan. Question from yesterday's topic. Wouldn't Jair want to join a team like this on a 1-year deal? Now, I'm sure he will, or he would, but I do think that the Buffalo Bills' priorities have switched up. I think that Buffalo inquired about Jair prior to the draft, prior to them triple dipping at the quarterback position, and then also signing Dane Jackson and Trey White. So it's hard for me to see if Buffalo is interested now, right? That's my take. John, good morning. Would you sign Cook $33 million for 3-year contract with incentives? So that would be around $11 million per year. What would be the guarantees? Would it be fully guaranteed, or would you guarantee about $25 million? If we were to do $33 million, 3-year contract, and we only guaranteed $25 million, 110%. Sign me up. 0 questions asked. Like, quite frankly, I wouldn't be pissed off if he got $15 million a year. Because, folks, and the way the salary cap has been moving and trending, it's growing $30 million every single year. Every single year, it's growing $30 million. I'm not sure about you, but I would not lose any sleep if James Cook got $15 million AAV for 3 years, right? Like a $45 million deal, 3 years, and only $30 million of that guaranteed. I would be fine with that. I feel like I'm one of the few that would be. Breaking, we have rookie defensive end Shamar Stewart will not practice during mandatory minicamp as the team continues to work on his contract. Guys, by the way, Roundtable Sports ended up hiring a bunch of interns, right? We have, I think, like 15 plus interns, which is crazy. And look how good these interns have been doing. They are breaking news to a point where I don't even look anywhere else. Now, when I get my breaking news, I just go to my company's webpage and I look at what all these interns are doing, right? So go follow Roundtable SN on X, folks, if you want some breaking news, some quality graphics. And we also have a Bills Roundtable account. I do not run this. One of our interns runs it. But they do an incredible job over here. That's Bills Roundtable, at Bills Roundtable, if you're interested in looking at some breaking news from the Buffalo Bills, some Bills content over here. Highly recommend you guys go check that out. I just wanted to take a moment and shout out to the interns that we have here because they have been doing an incredible job. An incredible job. Statement, it would be great to add Jair just to guard Diggs. If you know, you know. Yeah, we'll just sign him for a 1-year contract. Statement, we don't need another injury-prone defensive player that continues to kick us when we are down every single year. That's also a large reason why I was celebrating when I heard it didn't work out. I feel like we already rolled the dice on Joey Bosa. I don't want to include yet another injury-prone veteran on this roster. I feel like a lot of people hyper-obsess over last names on a jersey and overlook some of the true red flags that some of these players have. It's the OBJ effect. For some reason, people were still convinced that OBJ was a good player for the past 40 years when he was not. But I feel like everybody was still married to the ghost of what OBJ was when he was on the New York Giants and he made that highlight reel catch. That's probably one of my hottest takes in the NFL, is that with OBJ has been washed for like 6 years. That's my hot take. I would probably also double down and say that I've never really thought that he was a very good wide receiver outside of that one exclusive year while he was with the Giants. That's a hot take, and that's something that and that's a hill I'll die on, right? I have never thought that OBJ was much of a good football player, to be honest with you. DTN, where's the application for internship, since I understand that the Patriots Roundtable still hasn't uploaded theirs yet? Reach out to Richie. Send Richie a DM/email. He is running the social media interns. That is what he is doing. Send it on over. Are you in college, DTN? If that's the fact, then you are qualified, my friend. Question, safety is a weakness on our defense. Don't you feel that that's a large part of our third down struggles? Maybe, but I'd probably have to put about 90% on the pass rush because I don't care how good your corners and secondary is. Say, for example, that a quarterback has 7 to 8 seconds to find an open wide receiver. Eventually, one of your secondary players is going to get cooked. It's just bound to happen. A good coverage like metric, right? Say that a quarterback takes about like 2.5 to 3 seconds to throw the football, or like 2.2 seconds, like he's getting pressure in 2.4. Like your coverage 9 times out of 10 is going to have the advantage. But once you cross that 4 to 5 second mark where a wide receiver's route can mature, that's where you start to get into dangerous territory. Like that's where you're going to find a guy that can get open. It's bound to happen, right? Especially if you have 5 playmakers out there running routes. It's just going to happen. So I'd probably put 90% of it on the pass rush and the inability to get to the quarterback and disrupt the play, if you will. Dan, yes, sir. And I am in college right now, heading into my junior year. Damn, man. Yeah, dude, reach out to Richie. Reach out to Richie, man. We could certainly use some more interns, man. We have a lot of social media accounts and a lot of shows that are about to launch. Dan, with the suspension, we have what week will we know who our defense truly is? With the suspension, what week will we know who our defense truly is? Well, so you were referring to Michael Hoyt and you were referring to Larry Ogunjobi, who, in my opinion, were signed exclusively to be a second person in the rotation. Hoyt, I believe, is going to be running a lot of the edge position, right? Doubt that he's going to be playing much on the interior. Could be wrong there. I could be wrong there. But I feel like we're going to know what our defense is relatively soon because all of our starters on the defensive line are able to play, right? Hoping that Bosa's out there ready by week 1. I think that he will be. And you still have Daquan Jones and Ed Oliver, which I can tell you will be the starters, at least at the beginning of the season, barring any sort of injury. And you have Gregory Rousseau on the left. So, yeah. So I think we'll have a really good understanding of what our defense is like very soon. As far as our potential, as far as quality of rotation, week 6, week 7, maybe week 8, it just depends. It just depends. Senke has come in, and do you think we walk away from Hamlin this year? He played his best ball last year, but kind of like a Gabe Davis, doesn't really do much sparks from time to time. Yes, I would imagine so, right? And so I'm one of the few that believes DeMar Hamlin is overhated. I'm not going to come out and say that I think that he's the best safety in the world or he's top 10 or top 20 even, but I refuse to say that he's terrible. He's a very average player, and sometimes an average player is better than a terrible player. There are several safeties that he's better than in this league starting, but do I think he's going to start for us this year? No. And so I think it's going to be Cole Bishop and Taylor Rapp, but I do trust Hamlin being a depth player. He's familiar. He has improved significantly in his run defense. He's pretty good in coverage. He's pretty good. Like I said, he's not elite. He's not great. And maybe even calling him good is a stretch. He's average, and that's fine. Especially at the safety position. You don't particularly need an elite safety to have a good defense, right? It's typically a dying art within defenses already. Is this a Super Bowl or fire year for McDermott? It's hard for me to see McDermott being like moved on, right? And my opinion is not related at all. It doesn't matter if Bills Mafia goes out and demands Sean McDermott's going to be fired. I just don't think it's going to happen, right? Especially with ownership, with Terry Pagula looking over at the state of the Buffalo Sabres. Like, dude knows what he has. He looks at the Buffalo Sabres and he's like, holy shit, what a dumpster fire. Thank God I can at least make some money on playoff home games from the Buffalo Bills. I just don't see it. Like, we would need to have a below 500 type season, fully healthy. Say, for example, we went below 500 and we had some serious injuries and that was the reason. Yeah, we're good. He's going to stay. It's all about the owners looking at the situation and being like, okay, I'm looking at a team that has had the second highest win percentage in the NFL, has made the playoffs every single year but one. Like it or not, folks, we are in a Pittsburgh Mike Tomlin situation. Yeah, like it or not, we are in a Pittsburgh Mike Tomlin situation without a Super Bowl, right? So it doesn't matter what happens. He's going to be here, whether you like it or not. Sean McDermott will only be fired if he ends up putting together like 2 or 3 seasons in a row where like it's like first rounded or misses the playoffs entirely. MI has come in. I love watching your show. Would you please post your videos daily on YouTube? It would be awesome so I don't miss one of your episodes. am I? Well, let me tell you what, am I? I appreciate you regularly tuning in. And let me tell you what, all right? Make no mistake, I do. I do. What you need to do, say, for example, you can't catch my show live. Have no fear. This is actually posted on my YouTube channel under the live tab each and every single time. So say that you are late. It doesn't matter. You can go on ahead and look at every single live episode that I do. What is important, MI, is to make sure you have bell notifications turned on. Once you have bell notifications turned on, you will be notified when I am live, and always put it in your head, right? That I am live, all right? Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. EST. All right. So that is always something I think that we could rest our heads on, which is good. But thank you so much for the support. I love it. And yeah, let's do it. Honestly, I don't want him to leave either. I just know it is a hot topic. Yeah, and so it is. Sean McDermott, with every single playoff exit, you were going to find somebody pounding the table, demanding that he is gone. But unfortunately, I just think we're in a very interesting situation. And it doesn't help that our owner also owns a dumpster fire organization like the Buffalo Sabres, because he's looking at, okay, let me be thankful for what I have with this, with my football team, because this hockey team is an absolute dumpster fire that will never be fixed. So I think that really, I feel like it really goes into the decision of keeping Sean McDermott around, barring some sort of craziness. Statement: would love to see all these reporters admit they're dead wrong. Love Cook showing up for the team and letting his work earn the check. Sean Franks, man, he's been hoping. He's been hoping that James Cook shows up. Well, let me tell you what. I feel like things are good. I feel like things are good over here. Mucho Dinero, I too believe James Cook will have a great year with the Buffalo Bills. I mean, look, he's got a lot to prove, right? He's playing with a chip on his shoulder. And let's not pretend like a player playing with a chip on his shoulder is particularly a bad thing. Like, that man's going out there auditioning, ladies and gentlemen, for a bag. It's not bad for a little extra motivation. I'm not sure about you. JTL, McDermott, I love, but he's not a Super Bowl caliber coach, period. We'll see if shit changes this year. Look, let's be real. Stephon Diggs is the last player we were allowed to heartbreak us. We have Ray Davis, so if James Cook wants to act up, he can leave. We have BIYM. Hockey, we're talking about hockey. Don't talk about hockey for even a second, bro. I'm not talking about hockey. So I was just saying that more than likely why Sean McDermott's job is safe is because of how shitty our hockey team is. That's likely why it is. All right, folks, that's going to have to do it for another edition of the Don Mafia Report. As reported earlier, I will be live a bit later this afternoon to unpack all of the learnings from mandatory minicamp today, including, will James Cook participate? He has shown up. That's great. But will he play? Will he participate? And then other risers, fallers. How does some of the wide receivers stack up against some of our newly acquired corners, secondary? How does Josh Allen look? All right. His first time throwing a football since getting married. Who knows? I'm just kidding. I wouldn't focus on that. That's kind of irrelevant. But I love each and every single one of you. I would not be able to do this full time for a living without you guys regularly supporting me Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. and across all their social media platforms. Love each and every single one of you. I really do. I mean that. Smash that like button for me. It's the easiest way to show love. Subscribe, turn on bell notifications, and we'll see you a bit later today. Deuces.